Ed Blakely has served in different capacities under a succession of presidential administrations, has guided government policy on urban planning, and is a widely cited academic. My name is Sean Britton, and each week Ed and I have a chat about what's the latest news out of the United States, talking everything politics, planning and policy from sea to shining sea. Find us on iTunes, Whooshka, Facebook and Twitter at US of Ed. Ed, there's a new book out, Fire and Fury, Inside the Trump White House, which paints a picture of Trump as a childish, impulsive narcissist surrounded by a staff terrified of what he's doing to the country. A lot of people, I think you and I as well, have thought, tell us something we don't know.
You know what they could have done is documented our show. It would have been cheaper and faster because everything we have said has now been documented in this book. Now, a lot of other political commentators have said the same thing. Good Morning Joe, he said, hey, there's nothing new in this book. The whole CNN cast has said the same thing. And then they come on with this guy, Miller, on Sunday to say the President of the United States can do anything he chooses to do, include changing the Justice Department, including doing things that are clear violations of the law. This sounded very much like some third world tin pot dictator. And Trump applauded what he had to say. That has had such a blowback to all the Republicans. They have gone very, very quiet. As a matter of fact, I think being a Republican right now is very close to chickenpox.
Really, though, it has spurred this reaction that is questioning Trump's fitness for office all over again, not for the first time. There's even talks of the 25th Amendment. So what's your take on that?
Well, I think the 25th Amendment talks started very early. And under the 25th Amendment, the members of the cabinet and the vice president can declare the president not fit. It is now clear he is not fit. But to declare him unfit for the Republicans is a long step because it means they'd be out of office for God only knows how long. Why not let this guy hang on his own and say, we told you so? You notice that Kelly wasn't out there defending him. You notice the people who were kind of upstanding. McQuarters was not out there defending him. Tillotson was not out there. I think they got Nikki Haley. But she is drumming for a job. She wants to be the next Secretary of State. And she is looking really shallow right now. She's in the position that Colin Powell was in, lying before the people. So I think the people who defended him are now damaged goods. Notice his daughter didn't. The people who are saying what they're saying have been saying it for a long time. So there was really nothing new in this book, and how it can be a number one seller is beyond me. I think this number one seller thing will last about a week, and then it'll be gone because the truth will be really, really out.
One big scalp, though, the book has taken has been Trump's former campaign manager, Steve Bannon, the Breitbart News chief. He's quoted in the book as saying Donald Trump Jr.'s infamous meeting with a Russian lawyer was treasonous. He tried to walk it back, but it seems Bannon's time as a political influencer may be over. What do you think?
Well, the Mercer family, which have been backing him, they're a very rich family, have put more than $1 billion into Breitbart and related activities and campaigns around. They're putting more money in than the Koch brothers. But they are so narrow that they now have no place to go. I don't think Bannon's days are over yet. And there are two reasons for that. One of them is that Bannon actually has a constituency. People don't know who the Mercer brothers are, and they don't really know who Breitbart is, but everyone knows who Steve Bannon is. So Steve Bannon can go on the speaking circuit and make a ton of money saying basically what's in the book. But in doing so, he also starts putting together a new movement of like-minded people that would be at cross swords with the traditional, even radical right-wing Republicans. That would cause even more disarray. mark my words, he is not going to sit back. There is nothing for him to gain by sitting back. He's coming out in something like what I just said.
North Korea. We've got a rogue nuclear state, and Trump's reaction to it is to brag about his much bigger nuclear button that works way better than Kim Jong-un's. Surely it's not now US foreign policy to engage in a WMD dick measuring contest.
Yeah, but let's say this. By accident, Trump has actually put the North Koreans and South Koreans together because both of them hate Trump. And they, North Koreans and South Koreans, hate China. So the ploy here for the North Koreans is we can continue to develop our nuclear weapons and so on as long as we're in these peace talks. The Chinese are really pissed. The Chinese are the ones who want to go to war now and put the North Koreans in their place because the last thing they want is a united Korea on their southern border. The Koreans want to get rid of the largest military installation in the world, the U.S. military in Korea. Over 50,000 American troops. They'd like to get rid of them. I think Trump would like to withdraw them. So let's a little applause for Mr. Trump. He's doing something he didn't intend to do, but I think it's working. I think it's excellent foreign policy by accident.
Now, another one, the Steele dossier. You'll remember this is the report into Trump prior to the election that made some pretty shocking, pretty salacious claims about how Trump could be in the pockets of Putin and various Russian oligarchs. Now, the GOP, they've put forward criminal referrals, I believe, for the author of the dossier. It looks a lot like abuse of judicial power, which is kind of worrying with all the other bits and pieces we see going on.
Well, what's worse about this is Dianne Feinstein just yesterday released the testimony in that file. The facts are that the Republicans, not the Republicans, a right-wing financier financed the report, not the Democrats. The Democrats went to see what was in it, but they did not finance it. The Republicans lied. They said the Democrats helped finance that report. The Democrats did not help finance the report. If anybody helped finance the report, it was the FBI, who got wind through the Australians that something was amiss here, and this report was going on. Now the entire report is out, much like the Pentagon Papers. That will be grist for the mill. The chairman of the committee, the Senate committee, is now in hiding because he lied to the American people. So the Republicans are in very difficult position. The report basically has been corroborated. About 80% of what is in it has been corroborated. The issue about Trump having the girls. Well, we know from his own butler that 5 girls were offered to Trump, and then Trump laughed about it. But we don't know what happened after that. Now, let's say Trump was a good boy, nothing happened after that. But the fact they made the offer is not good. And that will sink in as that report goes around. So I think, again, like I said a moment ago, sometimes bad news turns out to be good news. And I think Dianne Feinstein has served the public well.
Now, the former sheriff Joe Arpaio, he was pardoned for race-targeting crimes by Donald Trump. He's now poised to run for the Senate. It's an interesting switch of events. Are we looking at another Roy Moore, or what are we what's happening?
You just said it. We got another Roy Moore here. This is a man who will have everyone who's on the right side of truth out against him. If the Republicans are very smart, they'll do anything to defeat him in the primaries. Now remember, the Democrats who ran in the last Senate seat, because of just in the last election, is when McCain came back into the Senate. So there's a fresh Democrat who came very close to beating McCain, ready to run. Now you put Arpaio in there, That Democrat who thought maybe I don't have a chance, all of a sudden has a great chance. And furthermore, I would imagine Republicans might even be divided on this issue. So they'll get killed in their own primary election with acrimony. And Ohio is not out of it yet. There are possibilities that other fresh federal charges will be laid on him. The president didn't pardon him from everything. So I think this is another Roy Moore.
Couple of important things I do want to get to before I do let you go. The Mueller investigation, where are we at it with the start of the new year? I mean, after saying he would 100% sit down with Robert Mueller previously, Trump is looking like he's setting himself up to reject that. What do we see happening in the investigation?
Well, I think Trump's lawyers have said, you are in no position and no condition to stand up in front of Robert Mueller and his crew, because they are tough investigators. He's good, but he's not as good as these guys. So he's walking back on that. And like Nixon, he'll do everything he can constitutionally to prevent this from happening. He cannot. Remember, this ground has been crossed by the Supreme Court. The President of the United States, Richard Nixon, could not say he would not meet with the special prosecutor. That's what did Nixon in. And so we're headed for the same kind of constitutional crisis. And if he pleads the fifth, he's really going to look sorry. So I think we're headed for this. Let me give you one other tidbit here. Jared Kushner. Jared Kushner is toast. But Kushner will be prosecuted in two directions. One, for lying to the FBI. Soft charge, only 5 years in prison. But the Bronx Supreme Court is going after him for money laundering. That is a state crime in New York and carries the same penalties as a federal crime for money laundering. 20 years in prison. They're going to say, Jared, either you talk to us, or like your father, you'll spend the rest of your life in prison. And it seems Ivanka has already decided that she's going to run for president, and her husband may be in stripes because she's parting ways.
Now, finally, next week, we could be looking at a government shutdown on January 19th unless the Senate approves continuing the government's debt limits. We saw one of these most famously not so long ago during Obama's second term. What's happening?
Well, this is all about DACA. And the president said he would make a good, clean bill on DACA. And then the next day he says the wall has to be part of that deal. The Democrats have nothing to lose. It takes 60 votes for the continuing resolution in the Senate. The Democrats have 49 votes. And there are 4 Republican senators who say they will vote for DACA. Guess what? The president caves or the government caves. The president caves. And I think this may be very different. There may be a DACA bill tied to the continuing resolution. So the president has no way out but to sign that bill.
Ed and I will be back next week to talk the latest on American news and politics. Subscribe on iTunes and Whooshka to stay up to date, and show us some love on Facebook and Twitter at US of Ed.